Good morning, everyone. Hare Krishna. I'm very, as always, honored and very grateful to be here with all of you. Yeah, what a beautiful morning when we can discuss Bhagavatam. I like what you said about Srila Prabhupada being pleased. I think you're right. He would be pleased. And yeah, pleasing the spiritual master is a perfection of our life. So it's one small step towards that.
Yes.
Okay.
Haripusha Prabhu, is that pleasing to Srila Prabhupada when devotees get together? Yeah. Is he giving us a big smile?
He is.
Yeah.
Not just he would be or he was, he is.
He is. Yeah. Okay.
Jai. Okay, today we're continuing Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 2, Text 38. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mutirayet Nashtapraye Savadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hey, so let's see about this verse. Dishtya Hare Sya Bhavata Pada Bhuvo Bharo Panitastava Janmane Shituhu Dishtyam Kitam Tvat Padakai Sushobhanir Drakshyamagam Chatavanukam. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. O Lord, we are fortunate because the heavy burden of the demons upon this earth is immediately removed by your appearance. Indeed, we are certainly fortunate, for we shall be able to see upon this earth and in the heavenly planets the marks of lotus, conch shell, club, and disc that adorn your lotus feet. Purport. The soles of the Lord's feet are marked with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, conch shell, disc, club, and lotus, and also by a flag and a thunderbolt. When Krishna walks on this earth or in the heavenly planets, these marks are visible wherever he goes. Vrindavan Dham is a transcendental place because of Krishna's walking on this land frequently. The inhabitants of Vrindavan were fortunate to see these marks here and there. When Akrura went to Vrindavan to take Krishna and Balaram away to the festival arranged by Kamsa, upon seeing the marks of the lotus feet on the ground of Vrindavan, he fell down and began to groan. These marks are visible to devotees who receive the causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tavanukampitam. The demigods are jubilant not only because the appearance of the Supreme Lord would do away with the burdensome demons, but also because they would be able to see upon the ground the transcendental marks from the soles of the Lord's lotus feet. The gopis always thought of the Lord's lotus feet when he was walking in the pasturing grounds, and as described in the previous verse, simply by thinking of the Lord's lotus feet, the gopis were fully absorbed in transcendence. Avishta Chaitanya Bhavaya Kalpate. Like the gopis, one who is always absorbed in thought of the Lord is beyond the material platform and will not remain in this material world. It is our duty, therefore, always to hear, chant, and think about the Lord's lotus feet, as actually done by Vaishnavas, who have decided to live in Vrindavan always and think of the Lord's lotus feet 24 hours a day. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavat. Oh, I did that already. Sorry. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hey, dear devotees, I just want to see everyone. Oh, good. Oh, good morning, Lila. Nice to see you. Adipurusha Prabhu, good morning. So I'm seeking your blessings so that I can say something that is in line with our parampara, and that is enlightening to our hearts and our minds. So may the Shastra come through for us today. Okay, so the Lord's lotus feet. Just one moment. I'll sort out the transcendental technology. Okay. So just read this verse one more time. It's the English. O Lord, we are fortunate because the heavy burden of the demons upon this earth is immediately removed by your appearance. Indeed, we are certainly fortunate, for we shall be able to see upon this earth and in the heavenly planets the marks of lotus, conch shell, club, and disc that adorn your lotus feet. So this section of the 10th canto is referred to as the Garbha Stuti prayers. Garbha is womb and Stuti is prayers. So it's the womb prayers. The demigods are glorifying Krishna as he has appeared or is appearing, kind of both, because he's in the womb, but he still hasn't come out. So he's there and he's not there, which is his style. And so they're glorifying him. And I was thinking, wow, can you imagine being in that room while the demigods come and they're glorifying Lord Krishna? It's got to be amazing. And their words, these are real happenings. These Sanskrit words were spoken by the demigods to Krishna at that moment in time. And so because his pastimes are transcendental and they are eternal, we can step into those pastimes. And so I just like to practice that, because this is so much more than sometimes the mind knows that is happening. So the Garbha Stuti prayers. Okay, so what are these prayers telling us? There are a few things that we can get from this verse. And one is what is the importance of us hearing about why the Lord has come, or that the Lord has come. They mentioned his lotus feet. A lot has to do with the footprints that he is known by. And so what is unique about them? What is to know about them? And in our Shastra, we hear the word Pada Sevana a lot. And so what does that mean? And what does that mean for us? What does that mean for us in our lives? So the Lord's appearance. Do you ever wonder why Krishna himself incarnates into these different places? And he can send anyone to do anything at any moment, and yet he chooses to come himself. He's having a good time in his eternal pastimes. And yet he chooses to go out and to slay demons and do all of these things. And so there's several reasons why he does that. He's engaging in his own Lila. He's engaging his devotees in his Lila. So in this particular Lila, Devaki and Vasudeva are being engaged. And there are backstories to that, how they got to that place where he could engage with them in this very specific role of being born to them. And he's pleasing his devotees with his presence. He's giving them his divine association. And if this weren't enough, he gives us even more reasons why he comes. And so in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 4th chapter, it says, Yadha yadha hi dharmasya glanir bhavati. Whenever dharma weakens, abhyutanam adharmasya tadat manam shrajamyaham, and adharma surges, I then manifest myself. Srila Prabhupada's translation, whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious practice, dharma, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, adharma, at that time I descend myself, yadha yadha, whenever, wherever. And then continues to say, paritranaya sadhunam vinasya cha dukshkritam dharma samshtam panarthaya sambhavani yuge yuge. I really like these words being repeated. They're easy to remember. And then what happened, I was taking a walk, and there's this bird that I call the yuge yuge bird. He has a call. I haven't seen him yet, but he's there are lots of them, and it sounds like he's saying yuge yuge, and so it reminds me of Krishna. Yuge, like yuga, to deliver the righteous, destroy the wicked, and restore dharma. I appear in every age. So Prabhupada says, I appear millennium after millennium, so over and over. And so he's doing something. Deliver the pious and annihilate the miscreants is the translation in the Bhagavad Gita, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion. So righteousness and non-righteousness. And in that purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the Sanskrit says sadhunam, paritranaya, deliverance, and sadhunam, of the sadhu. And what is a sadhu? A sadhu is a holy man. And what is a holy man is a person, a holy person. And a holy person is a person in Krishna consciousness. And so we can come to understand what kind of people are being delivered. And it gets even better. And this is, I was thinking this in particular is the reason why we're here today. Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tattva taha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti sorjuna. One who knows in truth my divine birth and deeds, janma karma, janma's birth, karma's activities, chame divyam, my transcendental birth and activities, never again takes birth upon giving up the body, but comes to me, Arjuna. So naiti is not. Naiti is not, so never, and attaining, not ever attaining birth, janma. Mam eti, so, but comes to me. And so just hearing about these pastimes and understanding what is being said is enough to take us out of the cycle of birth and death. And that is no small thing. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities, janma karma, does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again, or her birth, in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. We go back to Krishna. This is a big deal. And so we woke up to a really, really good situation. We're very blessed today. So it's stated, one who understands this never takes birth again. And how do we come to understand it? By engaging with these pastimes, by talking about them, by discussing them, by exploring them, by meditating on them. This is a really big possibility. So Krishna's come, or he's coming, he's here in this pastime. And just think of how many people are not hearing about this today, and they don't have the possibility to hear of this pastime and start working on this, this taking us out of the cycle of birth and death. So this is our ticket home. This is big. I really thought this was very significant and very merciful. The ways in which he shows up to say, hey, come to me alone, are endless. They're everywhere. It's like when I was a kid, they had these Find Waldo books. And so these big pictures of like just a lot of drawings and pictures and things everywhere, and you had to find certain things, and they were there. You just had to look closely enough. So then the demigods make mention that when Krishna comes, they'll be able to see evidence of him by way of his transcendental footprints. So Krishna's lotus feet and what they mean. Okay, so this is interesting. What does it mean when we see someone's footprints? So you see footprints. It tells you, one, that they were there, that they were present in that moment. In this case, it tells you who was there because of the identifying marks of the footprints. And it tells you which way they went so that you can follow them. Oh, this is good. Yes, Find Krishna book in the style of Find Waldo. Yes, so we have our resident artist, Andrea, who's going to now make a book, Find Krishna. So now we know, we see footprints, we know which way they went and how we're going to follow. Just like we have unique fingerprints, Krishna has unique markings on their feet, and so do a lot of other personalities. Radha, Balaram, Lord Nityananda, they have these unique markings on the bottom of their feet, and this is how and this is how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is recognized when it comes to the world, to this world. And this purport is telling us that they are recognized by others, such as the residents of Vrindavan and Nakura. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the description of these same markings on the feet of Lord Chaitanya are described as well. And so yuge in every age, in every millennium. And there's a purport, I'm not exactly sure where it is, but there's a purport where Srila Prabhupada says, in these days of cheap incarnations. And so there are many times when people claim to be God, that they are God incarnated. And so the next time that we hear that, someone claiming this, we can say, okay, can I see the markings on your feet, please? And then we will know. It could be, but it could also not be. And so this way we find out, we fact check. So there's several markings on the bottoms of the feet of Sri Krishna, and the conch. The conch, what is the conch? So the conch signifies victory over good and evil. And this is in many places in the Shastra. It's also the sound of the conch is the primeval sound of the universe. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Giram Ashmi Ekam Aksharam. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om, or the unperishing syllable, the foundation of all other sounds in this creation is Om, and he is that. And so the sound, the conch, and the sound that it makes represents that. And in the Bhagavad Gita, there's this in the beginning where it's described that the beginning of the battle, when the conches are blown, there's so much drama, it's so much excitement. How the conch was blown, and it instilled fear in the hearts of the opponents. And so it signifies victory. And what happens when we know that victory is certain? We become fearless. If we know that victory is certain, if we know that Krishna's with us in the battlefield of whatever that battlefield is, in that moment of trying to be victorious over illusion, over our conditioning, over this cycle of birth and death. If we know that Krishna's on the other side, which he is, then we become fearless. Then we're not afraid and we go forward, just like Arjuna did. And so yeah, Bhagavad Gita in the 114, it says the transcendental sound produced by the conch shell of Krishna indicates victory and fortune, because Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is never without her husband. So wherever he is, she is. Wherever Krishna is, there's fortune. Wherever Krishna is, there's victory. And if the Lord isn't there, then fortune will not be there. And I found it really interesting. So just to go a little bit deeper into what this symbol really means. When Bhishma blew his conch, he was trying to incite confidence and encouragement to Duryodhana. So he was blowing his conch on the other side, but the conch is directly related to Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that because of the symbolism of the conch, even though he was blowing his conch, Bhishma was blowing his conch for Duryodhana and his side, for the Kauravas, unfortunately for them, it indicated that victory was going to be on the other side, that victory was going to be wherever Krishna is. But he still tried. He's like, okay, I'm here. This is my grandson. You know, I'm here to support him. I'm doing my duty. And so I'll try to encourage him. I'll blow the conch, but the conch is directly tied to Krishna. And so the victory was not going to be theirs, unfortunately. And he knew that. He knew that. And then further on in the 10th canto, there's a verse that says, as Lord Krishna came out of the city with the Dakura at the reins of his chariot, he blew his conch shell, and the enemy soldiers' hearts began to tremble with fear. So he's inciting fear with his conch, because wherever he is, if you're an enemy of Lord Krishna, it's not going to end well. Right? He comes to deliver the devotees, and he comes to destroy the demons, destroy his enemies. And so this particular symbol, the conch and the lotus, are for they are for the devotees, and then the chakra and the club are to do away with the demons. So he's doing both things. And ultimately the end game is the same, that they're all going back to him. In text 19 of chapter 1, at the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, one who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. And this is a source of comfort. Bhagavad Gita verse on the conch, 114, yeah, I think it's or maybe the two before that, where it's described where all the different personalities start describing start blowing their conch, but most of these are in the purports to those verses. 114 is the one that talks about Lakshmi being with her husband, with the Lord. So I think this one's worth repeating. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. So in 2022, I feel like I'm always in the midst of some calamity, whether it's world or community or even my internal world. There's always some calamity. So we take shelter of the Lord. This never waste the good suffering, right? Use it as an opportunity to take shelter of the Lord, to remember Krishna and his lotus feet. So moving on to the chakra, Sudarshana chakra. There's a name for Panchajanya, is the name of Krishna's conch. These are all servants. These the paraphernalia of the Lord and the paraphernalia of his associates, they all have names. They're all his servants. So they are also personalities. His chakra in particular is the Sudarshana chakra. And it cuts away the 6 enemies of the devotees. Not only does it cut the heads off demons like Shishupal. It takes heads off. Heads are going to be rolling when Krishna is around if they oppose him. But it also cuts away the 6 enemies of the Lord. So this is also for us. Srila Prabhupada says in one of the purports that one should meditate. I think it's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a description of the Lord and his body and all of his paraphernalia. And it says one should meditate on all of these things. So the chakra has 1,000 spokes and contains a dazzling luster. And that the devotee, the yogi, should meditate on each of these spokes. And so this is cutting away the enemies that are in our heart: lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride. And so remember that Krishna, wherever there's Krishna, there's victory. So we're trying to do away with these six enemies that try to keep us in illusion, that try to keep us in disconnection from our true selves, from the people around us, from the world, from other living entities. We just offer it all to Krishna, and he himself has his built-in paraphernalia that will come and cut these enemies away. And the club is also one of the symbols on his feet. Kaumodaki is the name of his club. It's for smashing demons. I don't know if anyone knows of any other significance of the club. Please let us know, because I don't know more about the club, but I'd love to know more. And then in his other another part, so these are just some of the symbols that appear on the soles of his feet that are mentioned in this purport. But these are also the instruments that he has, that Vishnu carries in his 4 hands. In the lotus, the sign of purity and the symbol of the origin of creation. And so we know that the symbol of the lotus is that it grows in mud, but does not actually become contaminated by the mud. And so this is also the work of us, that we're trying to thrive and we're trying to regain our spiritual consciousness, but not actually become contaminated or trying to become uncontaminated by material energy, because this is just one of the ways that it's material energy is described in relationship to us, that it contaminates the soul. It creates these just like dust. It just creates layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of illusion, of misunderstanding. And so we forget. It's okay. We're here to remind ourselves and remind each other, not ourselves, but Krishna reminds us, right? He's the source of our remembrance. And so we're here to remind each other of who we really are. And so, okay, so now we have Krishna's feet, and then there are more symbols. I would recommend, you ever see sometimes people have the feet and the symbols tattooed on them. So I think totally appropriate a tattoo if you like to have body art. Krishna's lotus feet, doesn't get better than that. But look up a picture of the lotus feet. They're so beautiful, and there is really so much to meditate upon. All of these personalities, what does it mean? Why are they here? Of all the symbols in creation, why these? And so we can meditate on that. And so service and meditation to Krishna's lotus feet. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a purport that says, I'll just read it because it's so beautiful. The devotee should first concentrate his mind on the Lord's lotus feet, which are adorned with the marks of a thunderbolt, a goad, that's a club, a banner, and a lotus. The luster of his toenails, which are brilliantly prominent, resembles the light of the moon. If a yogi looks upon the marks of the Lord's soul and on the blazing brilliance of his nails, then he can be freed from the darkness of ignorance in material existence. This liberation is not achieved by mental speculation, but by seeing the light emanating from the lustrous toenails of the Lord. In other words, one has to fix his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord if he wants to be freed from the darkness of ignorance in material existence. So think about all of the things and think about all of the things that we meditate on, that the mind meditates on, that are not about Krishna. Just think about those. And I won't ask anyone because at least for me, some of those meditations are quite embarrassing, right? We're all works in progress. So we have that on one end, and then Krishna's lotus feet on the other end. And so when we gauge things like this, we can see where the quality of our minds is and which direction we want to move in. So being aware of what I'm meditating on day in and day out, or the times where I'm not engaged in speaking specifically about Bhagavatam, or I'm not chanting, or even am chanting, where is the mind going? And now we know which way we want the mind to go. We want it to go this way. Okay, so then we have this extremes, I would say, but extreme on Krishna's lotus feet is a good extreme. We want to move towards that direction. And so now we just being aware of this is the practice. That's it. Just become aware, try to bring it over this way, Krishna's lotus feet. I was thinking, I haven't done this, but as I was going through this purport, I was thinking it'd be nice to have a picture of Krishna's feet, and then maybe like wake up in the morning and just like see Krishna's lotus feet right as soon as you wake up. And so finding a balance between knowing that I'm not my mind, right? The things that the mind is thinking. So I separate myself from this. The mind, I have a mind, I'm not my mind. And that is not my identity. Yes, put it on your ceiling, Krishna's feet. That's a great idea, a ceiling mural. Directly under the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. That is a great idea. Andrea's she's available for murals, so you can reach out to her. So I am not this mind. My identity is not all of the ridiculous things that the mind is concocting. And so therefore, I'm not my mistakes, which are a direct consequence of what the mind thinks, right? Because we end up acting out on what we're thinking. And so if I'm not my mistakes, I'm not my past. So I'm not this mind and these ridiculous things on this extreme. But at the same time, I have to balance that with knowing that the mind and the ridiculous things that it concocts is the source of the mistakes that I have made and am making or will make, whatever is there. And so it's important to choose what I want to meditate on. That is why we want to get to this other end of the spectrum, thinking of Krishna's lotus feet. And there's unlimited things that are related to Krishna that we can meditate on. He built it that way. He designed it that way so we can have a way out. It's almost like, I've never done this, but I know they're everywhere. These what are those rooms that they'll lock people? People do this as like a fun party thing. They go into these rooms and they're I forget what they're called, but they give you clues.
They're called
Escape rooms. Yes, thank you, Radhika. Escape rooms. So the escape rooms and the clues are built into the room. They're there. You just have to find it. You have to find a way out. And so Krishna, if this is our escape room, if the material world is our escape room, Krishna has given us all the different ways that we can crack the code and get out. And they're everywhere. You just have to have the eyes to see and remind each other. And so giving the mind something to meditate upon. And it's simple, right? Okay, I'm going to meditate on Krishna's lotus feet, but it's not easy, right? But the conditioning of the mind just goes so deep. The struggle is real, but it gets easier. So this is why meditating on Krishna's lotus feet. This is just one of the now we know what's there. Look up a picture of the symbols underneath his feet, and we can come to a deeper meditation. Padasevana. So, just one more thing about this endless, they're infinite, the ways of going back to Krishna in any moment, thinking back to him. when I was a child, I used to think about like, what does eternity mean? Is you learn about the in math, right? That I forget what it's called, the axis, and how it just continues on and on and on and on and on and on. And I used to write down in a notebook, like I would start with the number 1 because the axis is related to the numbers, or that's a way to quantify. And I would start with 1 and then 2, 3, and I would just fill up pages and pages and pages of numbers trying to get to eternity. I was certain that I was going to get to eternity. And then, you start reading the philosophy, like, oh, you can't actually get to the end of eternity because it's eternal. And so his ways are like those numbers, and his incarnations are like those numbers, right? And then he just keeps coming, and his pastimes are like those. We're only hearing a little tiny bit of his incarnations when we're hearing about Bhagavatam. But there's more. There's other places, other universes, other planets where there's other Bhagavatams with other incarnations and other Leelas, and it's just going on and on and on and on. And so it's everywhere. And so we can have faith in that. We can have enthusiasm that it's just that we're never going to be left without a way out, without a way back to Krishna. So Padasevanam, serving the lotus feet of the Lord. This is one of the 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada quotes the Bhagavad Gita as saying, and says that any person, regardless of birth, can take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, and by doing so can return to Godhead. So we return to Krishna. To take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord means to take shelter of the pure devotees. And I think I say this every time that I speak about Bhagavatam, and this is the value of the devotees. Cannot, should not. I try not to use the word should, because in practicing nonviolent communication, which I learned from our dear Lila, who's here today, you should sometimes is a microaggression, right? Like tell someone you should do this, you should do that because I know better. But I think this time I will take this license and say the value of the devotees should not be underestimated. It should not. We should recognize the value of the devotees. And Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, a little bit later on. I won't say this yet. So taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, what does that mean, right? So I mean, if we think about it, if we're trying to really do it, we don't want to just say it, and taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. I don't want to just say it, but so what does it actually mean? And this is one little clue to that. Taking shelter of the feet of the Lord means to take shelter of the pure devotees. And then he goes on to explain that this is the bona fide spiritual master. But we also have sadhu, we have sangha, we have shastra. So we take shelter of all of these things. So that's what it means. We should. It doesn't always help to just hear something and to just repeat it. I mean, it does, the psyche is taking all of this in, and these sacred words are having an effect on us, but it's also helpful to contemplate on what does this actually mean and how can I put it into practice. And Srila Prabhupada wanted that. He wanted us to not change the Shastra. And so when we speak it, we speak what has already been realized by our by the disciplic succession, but we also need to have our own realization. And so that comes by asking questions. What does this mean? How do I do that? And we ask someone, we read, we look it up, find other places where Srila Prabhupada speaks about the same things. And this way we have some realization. And so it doesn't just become theoretical, it becomes the way that we live our lives. And in that way, we can start to purify ourselves from our conditioning that is often egocentric and just takes us further to that away from Krishna. The word sin isn't necessarily sin is anything that takes us away from our true selves, from who we really are. And if we're away from who we really are, then we're away from who Krishna is, because we're part and parcel. And so there's a couple of places in, I think, for example, in Sri Ishopanishad, one of the verses describes it says killer of the soul. That if you do this, you're a killer of the soul. And we know from Bhagavad Gita, you can't actually kill the soul. It's impossible. And one can't do any killing anyway, because we're not the doers. You can't actually kill anything or cause anything to be killed. That's in the 2nd chapter. So what does it mean? Why is this being used? Well, because you're going further away from the actual identity of the soul. And so it's almost like poetic, like killer of the soul, going away from. So thinking of the footprints of Shri Krishna, there's a book that was recommended by, I got this recommendation by Raghunath Prabhu from Wisdom of the Sages a few years ago. It's called Follow the Cowherd Boy. It's about the life of Mirabai, the Saint Mirabai. And it's so beautiful. It's part historical, and then part there's some literature in there, some fiction, but it's beautiful. It's just about how she just gave up everything to follow Krishna. She knew from the time she was a little girl, this is my love, and I don't want anything else but him. I don't want this kingdom. I don't care to be a princess. I don't want this king. I don't want this prince. I don't want anything. I just want Krishna, and I just want to sing to Krishna. I just want to write poetry about Krishna. And so follow the Cowherd Boy. And so I borrowed that. Follow the Cowherd Boy. We should all be following the Cowherd Boy. We can. It's like, okay, you want to come? Wherever that takes us, ask, right? Ask, what does it mean? Where do I go? Where are you going? Trust that if we follow him, that everything's going to be okay, and to not be afraid, because wherever there's Krishna, there's victory, and wherever there's Krishna, there's fortune. And so we will recognize him by the auspicious markings on the footprints that he leaves behind. And so I wanted to share a prayer with you. This is for all of us. This is for our Sangha today, so that we can be inspired to inquire more and meditate upon the lotus feet of Krishna. So here we are. Dear Krishna, dear Radha, this is your tiny part and parcel. Thank you for your mercy and the ways in which you keep us from forgetting you. You give us so much facility to go back to you in every moment, where we can immediately live in your presence. Please protect us from the worst calamity that can befall us, which is forgetting you. Today, we humbly ask that you bless us with the footprints of your lotus feet upon our hearts and minds. Give us the sight to see you everywhere, to see the auspicious marks of your lotus feet, to see you in the heart of the devotees, in the magnificent world around us, in the potency of our own activities, everywhere and in everything. Leave us with the beautiful forms imprinted within us, and give us the ability to meditate on them, so that we can be free from our coverings and remember our eternal identity, that of Nitya Krishna Dasa, your eternal servant. Let us follow your transcendental footprints with every part of our being, even while we perform our duties in the world. And so I leave you with that, dear friends. So we talked about the importance of hearing, not only the importance, but the incredible gift and mercy that is that is within the hearing about the activities and the birth of the Lord. This is a really, really special part of the Bhagavatam. What is unique about Krishna's lotus feet and Padasevana, offering service to the lotus feet of the Lord, means taking shelter of the pure devotees. And so we'll go into questions, comments, realizations, corrections.
I really liked, Lila, how you said that Srimad Bhagavatam has no end. And there are other universes where Srimad Bhagavatam is going, and it's probably thicker or thinner, depending on the level. And you also said there is another Lila unfolding somewhere. And maybe there is another Lila Devi giving class somewhere on Zoom or live. Yeah, it's so nice. Thank you very much for that. Okay, dear devotees, time to turn your cameras on and glorify Krishna proactively.
Hare Krishna, Lila Prabhu. Thank you so much for the class.
Hey.
I had a question. You mentioned for the disc chakra that it's used to cut away the 6 enemies, but I couldn't catch all of them. You said them really quickly, and then I had to follow up on that. So what are there? Lust, envy, anger, pride. What's the other ones?
Illusion. Lust, envy, anger, pride, illusion.
Fear? Fear?
Fear?
Fear? Is it fear? I think it's fear.
Someone put greed. I wasn't sure.
I know I saw a place that it says bewilderment, but I think bewilderment is let's see, lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride. Lust, anger, envy, greed. Yeah, greed, illusion, and pride. Mhm.
Oh, okay. So then my follow-up to that is if he's cutting those things away, then what would be the what's left in terms of when those are cut away?
Our eternal identity, because those are not qualities of the soul. Yeah, they're not who we truly are. We are and I think the evidence of that is that we couldn't return back to our original position if we're carrying these things around. And so they have no place there, and they have no place in our eternal home. And so therefore they must not be part of our eternal identity. Got any other thoughts or comments on that point? It would be appreciated. Yeah, what do you think, Andrea? Is that?
No, I like that. I know that I had heard that there is anger in the spiritual world, but that it's different. So that's why I wasn't sure if it's cut away in the sense of it just disappears, or if it was cleansed and purified.
Oh, that's a good.
So that's why I wasn't sure of that distinction. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think these things that are when they're expressed in the spiritual world, they're part of rasa, right? All these different rasas, and there is fear, and there can be spiritual greed, and even this little pastimes of envy between the gopis, but it's not contaminated the way it is here. It's part of a greater rasa. So yes, all of these things, even there's fear, there's disgust, there's all of these things that are there, but it's of a different quality. So the way we know them in the world, this just really dark qualities that are completely contaminated, the way we know them here in the material world, they don't exist there, where they're when we experience those, it is rasa, but it's not rasa related to Krishna. We're just kind of in our own little bubble of these experiences. It's not the same, but any of these, if they're experienced within Krishna's rasa, and he gives space for that, right? In the 10th canto, one of the fights that he's having, Krishna said, Srila Prabhupada says he just wanted to have a good fight. And so, one could think, oh, the fighting is not good. But Krishna wanted to have a good fight. And so that's rasa, right? So he has this rasa with like his enemies. And that's transcendental. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that. Thanks. Nice. There's, Shikshastaka Das Prabhu. That hand is melting into your background. It's so.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
You
Krishna.
were talking about hearing. So, because I read audiobooks, I really like this verse from the second canto. It goes, persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, manifested in their hearts within a short time.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's which verse is that?
That is Srimad Bhagavatam 284. I'll put it in the chat.
284. I love that. Yes. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. Yeah, there's something really, this quality of we can enjoy the pastimes, but also if we take them seriously, so that it's both. We're enjoying it. We're listening to these wonderful tales and the doings, the activities of Krishna and his devotees, but also it's of great import, because if it's our ticket home, wow, let me pay attention. Sit up a little bit straighter and pay attention to what is being spoken. Thank you for that, Prabhu. That's beautiful. Hari Purush, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. We really relished. It was very cool the way you were saying that the whole verse is about footprints, and you're saying the footprints indicate, oh, somebody was here, and then and then the identifying marks. Oh, who is it who is here, and then which way they're going, so that we can follow them. It was really nice the way you said that. And I can remember the first time somebody told me, I heard this thing about the Lord's lotus feet. And, we're coming from not really understanding that God is not just an energy or some, invisible something amorphous. And then I said, God has feet? Yeah, he has feet? What? And then they said, then his brother, and he has a brother? God has a brother? I was like, wait a minute. And just getting the idea of it, what a person is. A person is a being, a conscious, living, intelligent, living, caring. A person is a person. And that's very radical in the idea of having feet. And then the idea of the feet being our access to the Lord is feet represent coming at from a low angle. That's service. Mm-hmm. I am below, and he is above. And let me start at the bottom here, at the way that we get to Krishna is through devotional service to the one who is at the feet of the spiritual master. And I love the way they say about Srila Prabhupada, his name Abhayachar, fearless at the lotus feet of the Lord, Abhayacharande, fearless at the lotus feet of the Lord.
Yes. That's so good. Yes, that he's the example of what happens when you take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, that fearlessness. Yes, he was like a lion, just not afraid, and what he did. Oh, thank you for bringing that into this space. Yes. Yeah, and Srila Prabhupada says the Mayavadis can't, the impersonalists cannot meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord. They just can't, because to them, he has no form. But this is a person. This is a person with the most, whose toenails are so dazzling that it will take away all of our ignorance. Like, wow. Thank you, Hari Purush Prabhu. That's beautiful.
Rajalila Mataji's there.
Rajalila Prabhu.
Haribol, thank you, Adipurush Prabhu. Thank you so much. Lila, I am so grateful that Krishna has me in your association and everyone on this class. Thank you so much. I'm just really inspired by you practicalizing the Garbha Stuti prayers by by you making a prayer. And I'm wondering, in the closing of your class, you shared this very beautiful prayer, and I was a little curious. Did you write that prayer yourself? Did you write that prayer?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for that, because this is such a practical way of understanding how the demigods, they are glorifying Krishna. And so can we with prayers. We can write prayers in that mood. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lila. Yeah, this is a beautiful practice. I would recommend writing to Krishna. Just talk to him. You know, Prabhupada says, you have a friend here. You have someone you can joke around with. Doesn't matter who you are. You can tell him anything. And so this is one of the ways to really connect with him. I write him letters like, Krishna, this is, you know, this, I know you know what's going on, but let me tell you how I feel. Or Krishna, you know, praying for service, praying for understanding, praying whatever it is. And he reciprocates.
Calamities,
He's there.
praying for calamities sometimes.
I'm not quite there yet. I'm praying to survive the calamities or know what to do, which we learned today, right, is taking shelter. Oh, Bhima Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Good morning.
Hare Krishna. Good morning, Lila. What a beautiful class. I love your gentle speech and how you clarify everything very lucidly. And I really love the never waste a good suffering. I just feel that, you know, in facing suffering, which we all have to go through, I was amazingly enough reading Queen Kunti's prayers this morning, right before class. So apparently, I'm getting scared because I think that Krishna is getting me ready for a good suffer and a good beatdown, because you know how you see it everywhere. Krishna gives you warnings, gives you hints. So I think that also something, you know, we might not pray for these calamities to happen, but they are happening, just the life alone. But I've learned one little secret, that if we face our suffering, if we enjoy, if we face our suffering with joy, knowing that this is going to bring us closer to Krishna. We notice that every single one of the saints, no one got off scot-free, not even Radharani. Her heart was broken, which is the, you know, in a way. So, you know, these, if we just pay attention to the fact that these things will come upon us, and that means growth for us, that we should face this suffering when it comes on with joy. And as you were saying, the courage of a lion knows that he's going to have to engage in some type of battle with his prey. So Krishna comes upon us like a lion, and we just have to enjoy him taking us down and making a meal out of us, so to speak. So Hare Krishna, thank you. What a wonderful class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Yeah, the calamities are everywhere, and yeah, at some point we can start shifting the relationship to that discomfort and seeing it as Krishna. And it just goes back to our equanimity. But Bhima Prabhu, one thing that I've really been trying to work on is to remember that Krishna can also teach me by way of love, because there's always been a lot of fear of, oh man, some calamity, because I want to get closer to Krishna. And I've heard that devotees are sometimes afraid of this. So, you know, I don't want to pray that way because I'm afraid of what will come. And we can pray. We can say, please be gentle. Please be soft like your lotus feet. So we can learn by way of love. So thank you. That was the sound of the transcendental conch. Thank you all very much.
We actually have a question from Angelica in the chat that I think is really related to what you're talking about and what Bhima Prabhu shared. So if you have a second, it would be great if you could answer it.
Yes, where is it?
She says, how do we accept our suffering as a method of purification to come closer to Krishna, and at the same time remain grounded in the pain? not jumping over the process, feelings of our and others, yet remembering the Lord. My dear friend and many devotees I know are going through an intense suffering right now, and I so want to support them, but I'm afraid of de-align with it impersonally. I would like to hear your thoughts.
I think that this is probably part of a larger conversation. Yeah, there must be a balance between not denying what is happening. That's compassion. So in order to have true compassion is reminding others of our eternal being, that we never do actually die and suffer. The soul doesn't in that way that we know. But before that, we need to just acknowledge the suffering that comes from the mind and the emotions and the body. And this is what I'm practicing now in Karuna Care, the chaplaincy program, that just to be there, just to be that non-anxious presence, and to have true empathy for the suffering of another. And then we can then talk about the deeper truths of the soul and the predicament of the soul. But the best thing that we can do is just be present, just witness for them, just hold that space and be that strength, that steady strength, silent strength. We're not here to fix anyone. And the effects of hearing someone deeply cannot be underestimated. It is so powerful to
Hold on.
be present. So in that way we can be present with what is going on for them, and then things start to move through. So yeah, there is help for us. We should not diminish it. We can't just throw a Gita verse at it. That's not going to help. Not at the beginning when someone is really suffering. So feeling and being there, this non-anxious companion. I can't speak enough about the power of that. Yeah, I hope that helps. And Angelica, we can talk about this at length if you ever want to. I'm happy to do that. I've learned a lot from Rambaro Prabhu. So there's a lot of ways in which we can help. Okay, dear friends. Thank you all so very much. Hare Krishna, have a beautiful day, and may Krishna's lotus feet appear in your minds and in your hearts.
Lila Devi ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Everyone making a contribution to this class, ki jai. Akiko Chan's lotus feet, ki jai. We can see her orange socks. And I have a little tiny comment on Angelica's question. When I was first joining the movement, my mood was, you don't know my story, I'm suffering and I'm this and that and the other. And I happened to be preached to by a brahmachari, and he took me up to the temple room, and he told me, when I told him my story and my background, why I'm seeking shelter of God, and he told me, you know what, put your hand out. And he put Chernamrita in my hand and made me drink it. And I had no idea what that was. I told him, but my hands aren't clean. And he said, it's okay, just drink it, go for it. And then I drank it, and then I asked my questions, presented my position. And then, so he told me, you are nonsense. You're nonsense. You're not the body. So he spoke very strongly to me, but that worked. I'm still around. So Angelica, it depends on the person. Somebody will appreciate strong Bhagavad Gita verse. You're not the body. Stop this nonsense. You're not here to enjoy or control. You're here to suffer and get purified. Some people appreciate that kind of talk, and some other people will appreciate the other side, compassionate, non-anxious companionship. Yeah. So Angelica, consider who you're talking to, because it may be somebody like me who needs some stronger preaching, or maybe some tender heart who needs some love and compassion, right? It's just 5 cents. And Bhima Prabhu, you wanted to say something?
No, I think it's an old hand.
An old hand. I need someone like Bhima Prabhu to preach to me, you know? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you
I
very
relate
much.
to that
Hare,
too. Strong preaching.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Do we have
Bhima,
1 second?
preach something very
Yes.
strong.
Okay. So all right. So this isn't me, of course, but this was a quotation I ran upon when I was looking up Queen Kunti's prayers. It's not from the Bhagavatam, but it's written by someone who read the Bhagavatam through and through and memorized it. It says, I once prayed to God for wisdom, and he gave me problems to solve that I might become wise. I prayed to God for courage, and he gave me dangers to surmount, so I become courageous. I prayed to God for strength, and he gave me obstacles to solve, to overcome, so I become strong. And I prayed to God for love, and he gave me the downtrodden and the poor and the lost to serve, so that I can develop love for them, and I develop love. So my prayers were answered not by getting what I wanted, but what I needed. So if we understand that suffering is what we need to be reminded where we're at and where we need to get to, then all that suffering come again and again. I can't believe I just said that. Now I can see it coming in the sky. But anyway, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, dear friends. That was beautiful, Bhima Prabhu. I really like that. Hare Krishna. Have a beautiful day.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your association, dear devotees. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna.